the ability to fully control oneself. That's one of the main goals and principles that Stoicism lives by. And the beautiful thing that they do is they properly identify things that are truly within our control and are truly outside of our control. Now, the issue where most people have is the things that are in the middle. For example, gaining wealth, right? Growing a business. It seems like it is in our control, at least based on our actions. Like, let's say if I make more sales, I grow my business, thus I can control it. However, the identification that Stoics have is the only things that are truly under your control are the ones that are only affected by your influence. And those are the internal things, such as your thoughts, your emotions, your beliefs, your actions, and so on and so forth. Outside of that, anything that you can influence but cannot fully control, like another human being, or a natural disaster, or death, or you breaking up with your partner, and so on and so forth. Those are things that are outside of our grasp, outside of our control, and thus they should be indifferent to a Stoic. Now, once you have that clear definition of what are the things that are within our control, Stoics say that by their nature, those things are free, unbound, and cannot be truly destroyed. Then it becomes much easier for you to live a life of freedom and actually achieve those extra things that are not within your control. Because as soon as something that is not fully controlled by you becomes a little bit more indifferent to you and you're not afraid to lose it, like your business, your house, your beautiful clothes, your partner, and so on and so forth, it is much easier for you to not lose them. And then even if you lose them, your ability to gain them back or not be upset that you've lost something that was never truly your own is there. So you gain that ability and you become free, which is one of the main, I would argue, goals of Stoicism, to achieve a true inner freedom. There is a story how during the Second World War, a pilot was hit and he was crash landing on the site where the opposition during the World War II was torturing war prisoners. And as he was going down in his parachute, he said to himself, he later writes in his journal that now I leave the world of mortals and I come to the world of Epictetus. And Epictetus was, the slave who then became free because his master exiled him because of the madness, and he came up to be one of the greatest Stoic teachers of the world. And that pilot was one of the few people who survived all of the tortures, came back, and continued to live his fulfilled life. So by fully adopting and internalizing the Stoic wisdom, at least in this regard, an individual can be truly free regardless if they have been captured, if they were born a slave like Epictetus was, or if anything else happens to them. They get sick, they lose money, they lose their loved one, and so on and so forth. It gives you the resilience, and I would argue that it also brings joy back into your life, because nothing can truly upset you as long as you properly control all the stuff that you are capable of controlling, such as yourself. On this note, Marcus Aurelius says to be like the rock that the waves keep crushing over. It stands unmoved, and the raging of the sea falls still around it. In this metaphor, Marcus Aurelius has highlighted one of the most important principles of Stoicism, when one takes a full control of all of the internals, all the things that are truly under one's control, and thus becomes unmovable by any of the external things, any of the things that he cannot control. He says to be like the rock that the waves keep crushing over. In this sentence specifically, the rock is obviously yourself, and the waves is all of the external, unpredictable things that the world throws at you. Death, illness, breakup, financial losses, and so on and so forth. And he says that the raging sea, the outside world, keeps on crushing over that rock, but the rock stays unmoved. And eventually, the raging of the sea falls still around him. This is the principle by which most of the Stoics lived by, and thus they became unmovable. They became free and they were able to live a good life. But I believe it starts through the explanation of what are the things that are truly under our control and are outside of our control. In the Stoics sense, there are a gazillion of different things that we can influence, but we cannot truly control them. Because you would have to agree that when it comes down to business, relationship with other people, or even sickness, there are things that we could influence, but we could never truly control them by 100%. And thus, those things should be indifferent to you, just like the things that you have zero control or influence over. And then oneself just focuses on the internal things, such as your thoughts, your emotions, your actions, your beliefs, your perceptions of the world, and so on and so forth, because those things are 100% in our control. It doesn't mean that I fully control them or you fully control them. What it means is, by nature, those things can be fully in your control. Thus, the only thing that we should do as reasonable human beings is focus on those first. And once we are the masters of our mind and our bodies, that's when we become unmovable. For example, if I lose all my money, for a Stoic, it should be indifferent. It doesn't mean that it should be pleasurable or desired, but it should not make a huge difference in terms of the quality of their life. If a man gets sick, if a man loses the loved one, and so on and so forth, those are all natural things that by their nature are outside of our control. If a specific action can happen to a bad man just like a good man, that something should be indifferent to you because you cannot control it. Act as an unmovable rock through which the constant waves of an ocean are being crashed by, and yet the rock stays unmoved. And eventually the waves calm down while rock still remains unmoved. And I think if you're capable of doing that, you have no fear. And if you have no fear, you're bound to have a good life. So yeah, that's one of the things that I try to remind myself every day, but we do need to be reminded more than we have to be taught, and I forget it all the time. So that's why I record this video. Anyway, guys, I hope it was useful. Take care. Bye.